Hello, this is old Mr. Kent, MrKent.com, and I took this video in the morning. It was pretty cloudy, and then as I am doing the voiceover in the living room here, we had some rain, and so it turned out to be a rainy day. So it's a good thing I flew in the morning rather than waiting till later in the day, although it is cooler out there when it rains like this. Well, this morning I was riding my e-bike, and I went over to the area just across the circle irrigation there, where I'm headed with my Air 2S, and I went along and I saw that they were actually beginning to get started on construction at that big open field that I've been flying over to check out, for like, 6 months or so. And so they are actually getting started, and I thought, well, I'm going to fly over there with my drone and get some aerial shots of what they're doing. So that's what this trip is all about. And as usual, at this time of year, we have this is when we have our monsoon rains, and so it's the cloudy season. We do have our hot days, but then for a few days or so, we have all the clouds. Well, I want to tell you a story before I get too far along here, and it has to do with when I was teaching. By the way, I'm 80 years old, and I have been telling my interesting things that have happened in my life in the past videos. And so this is about when I was teaching at Pasco High School, which is in the southeastern corner of Washington State. And it's all sagebrush and stuff like that, just like it is here in Arizona. It just doesn't get quite so hot. Well, anyway, so I taught there, and I taught electronics. And as the years went by, we started an amateur radio club, and I taught the students that wanted to learn. They had to learn Morse code and all that kind of stuff. And the thing, if you want an interesting life, teach teenagers. Oh, by the way, I had to adjust the exposure because of the cloudy skies. Anyway, if you want some exciting fun, teach teenagers about electronics. Some of them just don't seem to get it. I mean, they do okay, but it's harder. On others, it's amazing what they will do and what they will learn. And so I'm going to talk about two of the guys that were in my amateur radio club at Pasco High School, and this was back in the early mid-'70s, something like that. They got their amateur radio license, and of course, when they first started, they had to use Morse code, and so you had a Morse code key and a transmitter and receiver, and so they were all set up. And so they got on, and they wanted to do something different. So this was back in the days of cassette recorders, the little 1/4-inch cassette. And so they got together, and they came up with maybe a 5-minute conversation on using Morse code. And they oh, by the way, they had also a code oscillator, which is you connect your Morse code key that you tap with your fingers. You connect that to it, and when you tap the key, then it makes a tone that you can hear with your ears. And that's how, if you're giving a test, somebody that is taking a test for Morse code, that's one of the things that you use so they can write down what they're hearing, and then that's how they give you the test for the Morse code. Well, so anyway, these guys in my electronics class they definitely were genius guys, and and so they got together and they came up with this conversation and wrote it down, and then let's say boy A, he recorded Morse code. He recorded it onto his on his tape recorder using his oscillator, so it recorded the sounds of beep 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 and stuff like that. And so he got his all done, and then the other boy, he had a cassette recorder, and so he recorded his conversation his side of the conversation with beep, 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 beep into his recorder. And so then they sat and they listened, and they could hear the recorders talk to each other. You know, one would send its message, and then the other one would play and send. I mean, the other one would already be playing, and it would send its message, and then the other recorder would reply. Of course, they had it all timed out, so the recorders were just running the tape, playing it back. So when they got that all finished, then they wired up this circuit. Each of them made a circuit, and they wired it up so that where you would normally plug in the key to the transmitter, they plugged in the audio from their tape machines, so that when the tape machine when the audio on the machine would go beep beep, well, then it would key the transmitter. Now they had to design that circuit with relays and things like that. So then when the sound on the tape would make a sound, well, then it would key the transmitter. So then the transmitter was duplicating whatever was on the tape, and so and so each one of them one evening they went to their houses, set up their station, got on the phone, and had a countdown. They got on the air, and they had on the same frequency, and they got on the air, and they had them timed together so that anyway, so they had them coordinated. Well, then, so one transmitter would send the first message, and then timed out just right, the other transmitter would send a reply, and that would time it, and then they were both running the same tape, all the same speed and everything, each one in his own house. And so if to a listener, to Morse code, it sounded like two different people talking to each other. And as it was two cassette machines talking to each other. And so, anyway, like I said, if you want to have fun teaching electronics, teach it to teenagers, because they have minds that are unbelievable. And I had a lot of other students that in the amateur radio club. I mean, we had marathons where we would we'd stay at the school all night long and see how many contacts we could make around the earth or around over the United States and all that. So we had a lot of fun with that. And then we went to all the ham fests, and they would do what teenagers do at ham fest. And so sometimes you have to camp out. I know that sometimes some of them, in the middle of the night, they got up and they bothered other people. Well, anyway, so that's my story of the two guys that were my students that were geniuses. And there I'm coming into land, and so as I do, I want to thank you for watching my videos, and God bless.